Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightened Podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlightened Podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Podcast. I am your host, Jen, and today's guest is Stephanie Ritz. Stephanie is a business strategist, mindset coach, and full-time traveler who helps aspiring coaches and consultants to start and grow their business alongside their 9-to-5 so they can hand in their notice with confidence with a profitable and sustainable business. Stephanie's experiences in entrepreneurship, corporate leadership, and mentoring roles serve as the foundation for her consulting and coaching program. Starting as a teen mum, Stephanie put herself through college, started 2 successful businesses, and quickly rose to leadership positions in multiple corporate roles. Drawing on her success in sales, banking, business operations, and coaching industries, Stephanie now works with corporate professionals to tap into and build on their strengths, skills, and intuition to start and grow their own coaching and consulting businesses. This conversation was absolutely delightful. Stephanie is a wealth of knowledge, and I know you're absolutely going to love it. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello and welcome, Stephanie. How are you today?
I am amazing. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm so excited for you to be here too, because off air, we've had some awesome chats between ourselves. We've actually got a little catch up coming up soon because you're coming to Australia and I'm so excited to show you around. So let's dive in though. Tell us all about you. So you're a business strategist and mindset coach, but you're also a digital nomad. Tell us all about this magical experience that you call life.
It is magical. And I hear all the time, oh my God, you're living the dream, you're living your best life. And it still kind of blows my mind that it's actually true. So I started my business coaching business alongside my 9-to-5, just like all of my clients do. And across 2 years, I built up my business so that I could leave my corporate world behind. And during that time is actually when I became a digital nomad. So I didn't wait until I was done my corporate life to get started in the travel life. I traveled around the US for a year, building my business while in my corporate job. And then I was able to exit with confidence. I had all the things in place to hand in my notice and just take off for the world. So I've been traveling internationally now for a year and a half, and it has been incredible. I can't wait to come back to Australia. This will be my first time in Brisbane and have a catch up with you, as you said, to explore this beautiful part of the world.
That's so exciting. Tell us about that moment where you handed in your resignation to your corporate job and it was just you doing this. Tell us about that moment.
Oh my gosh, I literally could not wait for this time to come. I had a whole speech planned. I had everything ready. I mean, I was so excited and I wasn't nervous at all because I was very strategic with my exit strategy. I didn't feel like the pressure that I think so many people feel to leave their job before they're really ready. Like I had a plan and I made sure that all the boxes were checked before that day came so that when it came, I was like, this is it. I'm ready. Let's go. And so for me, like having that conversation with my boss, it did not go as planned. It was a really bizarre story, but I handed in my notice that morning, and then I texted my mom and I'm like, I did it. I'm done. I'm literally leaving my job. And she was super excited for me because she knew I had a plan and a strategy and I had a profitable and sustainable business, like ready to continue to work as I, set off for this new life of travel. And so I had so many butterflies just because I couldn't believe the moment was here. I was so excited. But man, it was such an empowering feeling to be like, yeah, this is it. Today's the day. Here's my notice. I got 3 weeks and I'm out of here. And yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. That's incredible. I want to circle back to something you just said, was that you already had a profitable and successful business and sustainable
Yep.
business. Tell us about that, because I know that there's a lot of people that think that they can leave the job first and then build the business.
Yep.
Is that even possible, or would you recommend that people had, that foundational income, that support system there that's going to fund their life whilst they're going through this transition phase?
I think everybody's different. There are people who love to live by the burn the boats mentality. Like, I have no choice but to succeed, so I have to. I personally think that the money is in the mindset, and to have a strong mindset for success, if so much of your time is being, taken up by how am I going to pay my bills next month, or imposing this timeline of if I don't make this work in the next 3 months, I'm going to be out of money. That layer of stress and energy does not create a conducive creativity like mindset for you to be successful in your business. So when it's possible, I do recommend having a steady income alongside building your business. And then you can do it with confidence when you're ready, when you have a plan in place. I just
Mm.
feel like you come with a whole different mentality in building your business when you feel like, you still are in control of your finances with a paycheck, and you get to determine when that time is, instead of feeling like you're constantly in that scarcity place of, oh my gosh, if I don't get clients next month, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. Like, that's just, to me,
Mm.
one of the worst feelings to kind of step into a new business and experiencing it in that way.
Absolutely. Tell us about the business that you had set up. Like, what did that look like for you?
So I actually started my business as a career coach because I had a lot of success in corporate, and so naturally for me, I was like, oh, I want to help women and minorities be able to rise and take their seat at the table, and that felt really exciting for me. And then as I started getting clients, I had a lot of fast success, and the the clients that I was supporting were seeing me having this like incredible time with my own business and being my own boss, and they started like wanting to do their own business, kind of like, I'm done fighting the patriarchy, I want to do what you do. So I previously had a business, and all of my corporate experience sort of lended the perfect expertise to be a business coach. I spent 7 years in business banking and 7 years in business operations, literally the perfect combination to be a business coach. So I started sort of casually giving advice to my clients who were like, well, what if I want to start a side hustle? Or I have this other thing. Could you help me with that too? And so I kind of went through a transition phase. 6 months in, I did a retreat by myself, and I thought, well, is this something that I really want? Do I feel really excited to business coach? Because there's a billion business coaches out there. Is this really going to be the thing that lights me up? And so I took intentional time to rewrite a business plan, lean into it, feel into it. And I was like, I want out of corporate. I would love to be able to support people who have that same excitement and vision and goal. This is a hell yes for me. If it was anything less than that full excited, like I'm ready to do this, I probably wouldn't have made the transition, but I did. And yeah, it was fantastic. And like I said, I was in a season of hustle for the next 18 months when I decided like, this is what I want to do full time. And I was feeling like I love what I do. Like when you're in the zone with a client and you could just feel like I was always supposed to be doing this. That's how I felt. And so that kind of locked me into, this is it. This is my business. This is my vision. However long it takes me to get there, that's how long it's going to take me to get there. I'm locked into making this happen. And
Mm.
so I allowed myself to kind of be in that season of hustle for as long as I needed it to be. I was working long hours at work, long hours in my business, traveling for work. And then I became a digital nomad in the middle of all of it. So it was kind of crazy, like layering all of these things. And my son was in transition too, because he had just started college and then COVID broke out. So I was
Mm.
supporting him through this weird transition phase of life during all of this. But I knew what my goal was and I was super excited. And so I was I was willing to really look at my business from a strategic standpoint and not an emotional one. Even though I so wanted out and like to be full time, I was really willing to measure what was working, look at it from a third party perspective by hiring support, by hiring coaches, and allowing myself to be supported and get the support that I needed to make sure that I was giving myself the best opportunity to be successful as quickly as possible, but with intention. And that was kind of
Mhm.
like my formula. My business continued to grow when things weren't working. I made tweaks. I didn't get emotional over it. I was like, okay, let's figure it out. Let's do something else. Okay, this is really working. Let's lean hard into this. And so, yeah, I built it up until I felt like I had enough of a sustainability and a profitable business, not just revenue coming in, but enough to pay for the expenses in my business, plus what I knew I was going to need leaving corporate, which was, I'm single, so I didn't have a partner to rely on for benefits or retirement funds, because, we pay a lot of money into that for the US, especially healthcare. So I had a lot of planning and strategy to take into account while building my business and creating my exit strategy. But I was like seriously laser focused on making it happen. And I just stuck with that. Yeah. And that's, like I said, 2 years in total from start to when I left my corporate job with my business.
What an incredible journey that you've been on. And I love the fact that you've had so much strategy behind it and that there was so much intention behind it. Because I think a lot of people see, the digital nomad life or, running your own online business, the laptop lifestyle that people have. And it's all on Instagram or Pinterest and it looks really pretty. But there's a lot of, moving parts that go into the back end of it. What would you say to someone that's perhaps thinking, well, I really want to have that lifestyle, but I don't even know where to start? Is it something they can do on their own, or is it best to hire coaches and mentors and support people? What does that look like?
I mean, I think it definitely is going to look different from everyone, but regardless of where you're at in starting or growing your business or even becoming a digital nomad, having a third party perspective who's not your family, who's not your spouse, who's not someone who's going to be emotionally attached to the outcome of your business just gives you so much power and insight and reflection to elevate yourself to see things in a way that you can't see, right? You can't read the label from inside the bottle. And so having someone to reflect those things to you and guide you in a way that's really powerful is just so, so supportive. And I think when you're in a 9 to 5, your time is limited regardless of what your job actually is. Maybe it's shift work, maybe you're working 40 hours or 60 hours a week. Your time is going to be more limited than somebody who's in, full-time entrepreneurship or has a partner that's supporting them financially while they grow their business. So having support absolutely streamlines your pathway to success, because it is an emotional thing. Don't get me wrong. Having, how you earn income, it's so much a part of your daily life, the work that you're doing, and you want to be successful. I think most people who leave corporate to be an entrepreneur are generally high achievers, which sets the bar really high. And so it can be really difficult to navigate that on your own. So I think getting support at every stage of business is important for everyone, no matter what your personality type, what your business, what your job is. I just think that that's so essential. But what you do with that support is on you. You have to take ownership of
Mm.
your own success. And I think that's really key as well. Like, you can't rely on a coach, a mentor, a consultant to solve things in your business for you. And so get the support, but also take ownership of your role in receiving that support. And yeah, I think also just being laser focused on what it is that you want. a billion and one coaches will say, start with why, or what is your why? And it sounds so like frou-frou, but honestly, like I was so like, I want to live this lifestyle. I've been mothering my whole adult life. I never got to travel. I am ready to like step out and own this time in my life. And it's not just going to happen for me. No one's going to hand me a world trip ticket on a silver platter and say, okay, just go. And I
Yep.
think the other important thing is like knowing how you want to live your life, because I could have quit my job much sooner, but I didn't want to live in hostels and I didn't want to fly, in economy. And there's nothing wrong with those things. But I knew this about myself. If I'm going to travel and have this life experience, I want it to be at a certain travel lifestyle. And so waiting till the right time that I could truly step into that level of travel lifestyle has made this experience just so much better, because it wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't be having as much fun and having the same level of life experience if I wasn't comfortable and enjoying like my environment and the way that I'm traveling. So that was a lot of an answer to your question, but hopefully some nuggets in there for your listeners.
I love it. So many nuggets, so many gold nuggets. Look, you do a lot around mindset coaching as well. And obviously that is such a big part of business and strategy, because I mean, mindset is everything. Sometimes I like to call it mind flow, because I don't like to think it's set. Like I don't like to think it's set in concrete, because we can change our mind as well. Like obviously, like all of our conditions, our beliefs, all of our programming sits in our subconscious, and that is the driving force behind who we are. And we are fluid as well. We can change it. We can, we can shift our mindset. We can shift 1 degree and have, a whole different experience of life. What is the type of mindset? What's the type of mindset that we need coming into business in general? Like, is there anything that you can speak into as like generalized advice, and then we'll sort of dive down into sort of more specifics?
Yeah, I always say, this is something I literally say at least once a day, that the money is in the mindset. If you want to make money in your business, and listen, y'all, you need to own that. Like the heart-centered coaches, the consult, like, listen, I know that you want to serve. I know that you love to serve, but this is a business and you have to treat it as a business, because if you're not earning money, you can't support yourself, and then you can't support the clients that you love. And the money is in the mindset. So if you don't have a growth mindset, a success mindset, if you're not looking at your business like a business, but rather like, how can I serve people more, or giving away things for free, or just, giving, and not looking at it from a strategic standpoint on how do you transition from free to paid, you're going to stay in this cycle of, I love what I do, but I'm not making any money. So I think it's just so important to remember how you're looking at your business and how you're showing up, because you're the CEO now. Like, there's no one telling you this is how you need to run your business. This is how you need to wake up and start your day. So you need to really approach your business like a CEO, like somebody who is in charge of making this financially successful. And then you get to give all those things to the people who are willing to invest in themselves to receive your support.
Yes, so true. So true. And it's interesting, isn't it? I saw this quote a little while ago, and it was like, you work a 9 to 5 job and you feel, stuck working those hours, and then you go to have your own business and you're working 24/7. Like it becomes like, it becomes part of you. It's your life kind of thing. And so, yes, you have to show up. And if you're a solo business owner, not only are you the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the COO, you are, your head of marketing, your head of communications, like you wear all of the different hats. There's so many elements to it, and that's the thing, like when there's so much to do within your own business, it can be exhausting and really daunting, especially if you don't have a coach or a mentor or someone to support you, or even a family member as well. There was no one in my direct family that had ever run a business before. Like I had to start with coaches. I actually applied for a government grant at the start of my business, and I was successful in obtaining that, which went towards having a business coach and getting my company set up. And it was really awesome that we had access to that, and I was able to receive that grant to just get some support, because you have to have financial backing to be able to go, well, and this was like, I used to run an e-commerce business, have an online health and wellness store. And so it wasn't even like drop shipping wasn't even around in those days. I had to order stock, and it was all minimum order quantity stock. I had to have, insurance on everything. I had to store it. I had a room in my house with and then it like spilled over into my garage for stock. And oh my God, I think I'm breaking out into hives just thinking about all the work that went into it, because it was so much. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even a super successful business in the end, because I was trying to wear so many hats. It's actually so funny. I remember meeting my business coach for the first time, and I just found out I was pregnant with my son, with my second child. And so I was like, well, I can be super mum, because I already had like, a 1-year-old at this stage. So I was like, well, I'll just be one of those mums that just like works around the baby and runs the home business. And I'm not going to lie, it was fucked.
Yep.
It was insane. Like the mindset that I had is that I wanted to be like other people that I saw who had, so much more, I guess, probably financial backing than what I did at the time then. And was able to have a marketing team, or able to have, PAs and VAs to delegate and, have support with. But that's the thing, like my journey of growth in business it's just been epic. And I think that having that mindset that it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies is a big thing as well. Like you have to be prepared for things to fall completely on their head. I mean, look at what COVID did to so many businesses. I mean, for me, I was seeing clients in person. So I did the almighty pivot. And then when I took things online, I'm like, what? I can see people all around the world. I don't have to just have this in person, And I was like running programs. I had people from the US. I had people from like Switzerland, the UK. Like I was just living my best life. And I'm like, thank you, COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how like one major shift can change everything for the good or the bad. And I think it's important to recognize like whatever season of your life that you're in right now, it's not going to be the same in 6 months. It could be better, it could be worse. It could just be different. And so
Yeah.
I think it's so important to recognize that and not be complacent wherever you are, knowing that it's going to change, and you should expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the mindset of failure,
Yeah.
because failure, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you hear a lot of people, like failing forward, and you have to, have failures to know success and stuff. And it's interesting because I know some business coaches that don't actually work with clients unless they have failed miserably in their business and they understand what that's like. If you can speak into that for us, what's your take on the almighty failure?
I think it's just a realistic part of being an entrepreneur. And the failure doesn't have to be massive. It could be something small, but every time you go through that, your ability to work through it and keep going is the thing that will make you successful. And this is probably one of the most essential reasons why people actually do hire coaches, because people come and go in and out of this space so quickly. Coaches, consultants, online service providers, because they can't process the failures. They feel like they put their everything into it. They listen to all the advice. They had a launch and nobody signed up, or they can't get followers. And so that's it. And that resilience to keep going, and that strategic mind to say, okay, let's look at this, see what worked and where the funnel stopped. Where is the leak? Where is the block? And adjust that one thing. And then we can keep going from there. Like people, I think, assume that if they try it for 6 months and don't succeed, that that's it. And that is just not the mindset to be successful. And so I think knowing that you're going to fail, it should be something that you expect. And that could be something that's really hard to wrap your mind around when you are a high achiever, especially coming out of corporate. Most of my clients have achieved, a fair bit of success in their corporate life. And that does not translate to entrepreneurship one-to-one. Remember, like you spent how many years getting to that position? How many promotions or missed promotions or college degrees? Like how much did you put in to get there before you were this, manager, this VP, this whatever you are? Like, that's the same journey for entrepreneurship. You're not just going to be like, okay, I know all of this about business, so I'm going to be successful over here in the same way. And so I think just knowing that and having a clear vision of that. And I love that you talked about this, because this is something I talk about all the time. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that, because who's going to hire a business coach that talks about failure, But listen, if they're not being real with you and they're over promising you and you feel like you're being under delivered, or you weren't as successful as they said, in 6 months your business is going to skyrocket. Listen, it's bullshit. You have to be willing to stick with it, regardless of whether it's 3 months or 3 years. It is a journey. You're going to fail. And, get excited for those failures, because it just means like now you know what you need to do differently or change to be more successful the next time. And changing one thing and failing again just means you need to try something different, not that you're a failure. So separating yourself from the outcome, I think, is another big part of failure. But yeah, I think we need to talk about failure more, honestly, in this space, because it's something that you should expect, regardless of how amazing you are and how much you know. And, like you said, CEO, CMO, CFO, COO, you never did all of those roles. I don't care how brilliant or amazing you are. There's no chance in the world that you've held every single one of those positions. So there will be a learning curve, and get excited for it, because this is how you become successful.
I think one of the things as well, Steph, is that we see failure as the opposite end of the spectrum of success. Like the moment we create that polarity and we put them at the opposite ends of the spectrum, if we're not succeeding, by default, we're thinking we're failing. But like you said, it's about making that change. It's about going back to the funnel and going, well, hang on, where did this shift? Or, I mean, look, let's be honest, we're cyclical beings anyway. It's not always going to work over and over. And I don't know about you, but I get quite, bored easily. I'm a manifesting generator in human design. So I'm just like, oh yeah, we're done with that one, I'm very aware of it. I'm really, really mindful of my tendencies around that. But, some things that like programs or courses perhaps that I've run in the past, I'm like, I couldn't do that now, because it's not in alignment with who I am and what I love to teach. And so I'm not in, full integrity with what I'm teaching if it's not what I want to be teaching, if it's not what I want to be sharing or coaching around. And so, as we up level within ourselves, as we do the growth work, as we step, into different levels within our business, our content is going to change as well. And sometimes there's going to be a gap in between the time where you're going from one step to the other, where the rest of the world has to catch up, so that when you're shifting in that frequency, other people that are aligned to that frequency are going to find you, but it's going to just take a little moment for you to marinate in that frequency so that people can feel that you're there and that they're the ones that come into your field. Like I'm very obviously very energetic, when we talk about frequency, but that's what it's about. When you're up leveling in yourself, you're going to up level in your business. There's going to be quiet times. I say that to my coaching clients all of the time. There's going to be a time when you're doing the work on yourself where people might drop away because your frequency is shifting, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're higher and they're lower, or you're better or they're worse, or blah, 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 right? It just means that the shift is happening in frequency. And if people drop away, then that's okay. And it might feel as though it's a little bit lonely there for a while, and then other people will come, other experiences will come as you're going through that up leveling process. And then you go, oh, okay, these are my people. I'm right where I need to be now. And I feel like that's what happens in business as well. We have to give ourselves grace for that up level experience, to go through the phases, to close out on chapters, to close the doors on things that weren't working. And also a big almighty permission slip to call plot twist at any time and say, none of this is working. I want to do something different instead. or something even slightly different, or I want to show up differently online, or I'm just going to let this condition that I put on myself go. And who do I get to be if I'm, someone else,
I love everything that you just said, and we're soul sisters, manifesting generator here as well.
You get it.
And
You get it.
yeah, I totally do. I am just launching a second business around the travel lifestyle because I get so many questions about being a full-time traveler and digital nomad. And yeah, it's completely separate from my other business. And sometimes, yeah, you need just to give yourself permission to lean into what you're feeling really excited about. So now I've got two businesses going on, and I think something else that you said, I think is just so important to highlight is, what worked before may not work the second time around. And being willing to be flexible with, how marketing changes too. And that up leveling sometimes is from a space of like, I just need this energetically, but also it's because life is changing, marketing is changing. And sometimes you need to allow to adjust for that too. Like, Instagram strategy today is not Instagram strategy of 4 years ago. You made a reel
Right.
4 years ago and you got 10,000 followers. It's just not how it works today. It's a different ball game, and the strategies have changed and evolved for LinkedIn, Facebook, podcasting, everything. And so, being willing to move with the times and change your strategy, and not assume that, oh, this worked last time, so I'm just going to be able to rinse and repeat this for the next 5 years without up leveling, really checking in to see what's shifting, what's changing, how are my customers, evolving, and how they're consuming content and how they want to work with me. And if you're not feeling excited, like if you are not like, I am the best thing since sliced bread right now, if you don't feel that way about your business, your product, your service, it is time to take a step back and make a shift and maybe realign, because if you're not psyched about it, you're not going to be able to sell it. So much of what you
Mm,
just said, I loved and just wanted to emphasize.
yes. Oh gosh, I could talk about this all day. I'd love to hear from you, Steph. What's been your biggest failure?
Oh gosh. Um, that's a tough question, because I think just because so much mindset work that I put in, I don't even like hold that anymore. Like I just, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, I just don't hold that and look back at things and go, oh man, I totally screwed that up. Or what was I thinking? Everything is a learning opportunity. Maybe there's things that I would have done differently, but there's only like been one major regret, which this could be a whole separate interesting conversation. But I hired a coach early on in my business who was just the absolute wrong coach for me. And it was a very big investment. And I think that was like a major lesson for me in not only how I want to run my business, but how it feels when you invest and you are not feeling aligned to the person that you hired, and what that looks like and what that means. So again, so many lessons that came out of that, a very expensive lesson, but I absolutely felt like I did hold that for a while. That felt like a failure to me. Like I made the wrong choice. And I think a big lesson that I would just share for anyone out there is, you know, having thousands of followers and having a huge marketing budget to put yourself out there does not equate to somebody who can fully support you and get you the results that you're looking for. And I think that's just so important. Like, have a real one-to-one conversation with anyone that you're going to hire for your business, either for yourself or for your team, and make sure that you feel that connection with them before making the investment. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast conversation, but I'll say that's the only thing that really stands out to me from my time in business.
Oh, I love it. It's so true. I feel like having a shit coach at some point is a rite of passage as an entrepreneur.
Thank you for that. That
Like
makes me
I
feel a
feel
little
it
better.
so. Oh, I feel you. Like I've literally like invested in business coaches. Like at the very start of my journey, I paid like I think it was about $3,000 at the time for a business course, which didn't actually eventuate. And to this day, I'm still like, I want my fucking money back. Like I've done a lot of work around it, but it just didn't eventuate. And I was like, fuck, or you do programs and stuff. And like, that's the thing. They've got big marketing budgets and they look really good. And you get in there and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? You know?
Yeah. 100%. It is just the worst feeling when you're like, oh my God, I can't believe all that money. And then I've hired other coaches, right? Like you learn from that. It's not like, okay, I made a bad investment. I made a bad choice. What do I need to take away from this to make sure I do not repeat this again? And that could have easily swayed me from ever hiring anyone again because it was a huge investment and just an absolute complete loss. I got nothing from him except for all the hard lessons. But I was like, you know what? This is not how business coaching is supposed to be. If I'm ever going to be a business coach myself, I have to walk the talk and hire someone for myself. I feel very strongly about coaches having coaches. And so I've worked with some incredible coaches since that person. And so there were lessons that came out of that, but I just think that that's another important follow-up to say, like, listen, we all make bad choices in business, whether it's hiring the wrong person, choosing the wrong software, you know, just whatever it might be. But like you said, that's kind of a rite of passage of entrepreneurship. It's part of the learning journey.
Yes. And isn't that so funny? Because it's actually where the magic is. That's where you grew so much and where you learnt so much. Because if you don't have the shitty experiences, first of all, you don't have the cool stories to tell, but you don't have growth as well. Like, because we grow through the things that sting the most. Like, I always feel with coaching, you have to meet yourself at an edge. It can't be easy. The investment can't be too easy because otherwise it's like, oh yeah, I'll get to it, you know, or if, you know, obviously checking in with your relationship with money. Like that's that's a whole topic within itself, isn't it? You know, but when we hire coaches, yes, it should be a stretch. It should be an edge. And we should also know that we're going to get some sort of a return on investment at some stage. But the thing is, you know, down the track you do, as long as you stay in it and you're like, okay, cool, I get that that was a shitty experience, but it's actually shown me what not to do. And so I had the same experience. Like I have never, ever charged someone money and never shown up for them. You know, I just couldn't do it. Like like my whole body, I'm breaking out into hives again. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't do it. And, you know, to know that there's people out there that do that. And so that aren't in integrity with their word. Like this person has like lost me basically. Like I'm not in their field, you know, they don't get access to me. I don't want access to them. But and I don't want to create that energy in my own business. So I know, because I know how that feels, I then get to be so wildly aware of it that I wouldn't create that. So it's actually given me so much magic. It's given me a baseline to go, well, these are what my boundaries are. This is what my like base level values are in business or as a coach. So I'm not going to show up in that way. And I think, you know, you having this experience of investing a lot of money, getting nothing out of it, you're like, I know exactly what not to do now. And I think that's the fucking magic.
It's so true, right? Like it's the same thing as what we were talking about earlier. Like if you don't fail or you don't hit a roadblock, how do you learn from that? How do you grow, right? They say like you grow through what you go through. And it's the same in the entrepreneurial journey. Some lessons are more expensive than others, but this is also why, like, this happened while I was still in my corporate job. This wasn't going to like drain my bank account and leave me like destitute thinking, okay, this is it. My budget is literally gone. I'm in debt. Like I would not ever recommend that happening. So this is also why I'm such a huge advocate for building a business alongside your 9 to 5, alongside your paycheck, so that you can feel empowered to make the necessary investments to set yourself up for long-term success.
I love that so much. What would you say to people that perhaps are listening and they've gone through the business journey or they've been in the business journey? They've pivoted, they've hit their failure points, they've hit the walls, they've gone through the roadblocks, it's not building. And they're like at that point where they're like, shit, this is not sustainable anymore.
Yeah.
What would you say? Do you say, you know, obviously, you know, keep going if you want to keep going, you know, burnout's a whole different conversation, but like, you know, would you recommend like going back to a 9 to 5 job to support their lifestyle whilst they then, you know, recalibrate in their business?
I would. I absolutely would. I think there's so much stigma around getting a paycheck, especially after you've left, which is all self imposed. Honestly, nobody gives a shit. Nobody out there in the world cares how you're making your money. Being successful and being really good at what you do has nothing to do with how else you're bringing in income. You could be amazing at what you do in coaching, consulting, and maybe you're just shit at marketing, like maybe that's your thing. Like that's a struggle for you. But also like solving for that problem, like hire somebody for where you're feeling most challenged. And if the mindset to stay in it is the challenge, then yeah, you need a business and mindset coach. But, if your strategy is like all about podcasting and you love podcasting, it's how you want to attract an audience, but you're feeling challenged and stuck with growing then hire a podcast coach. You know what I mean? Like solve for the right problem and don't feel like you owe anything to anyone around how you support your life. Go get a job, go get a part-time job, get an online job, travel and work as a tour guide while you're building your business on the side. Like do whatever's going to make you feel happy and aligned to living the lifestyle that you want without shame or without feeling like you owe anyone an explanation for how you're using your time, how you're making an income, how you want to sustain your lifestyle. I just think it's so important to keep that perspective. It is not all about just, I had to go back and get a job because I didn't make as much money as I thought I was going to make in my business, or I've run out of money. Maybe you've just invested a shit ton of money in Facebook ads and a major marketing campaign and new equipment and newest software so that you could be the best consultant or best coach out there. And while that's in process of earning all that ROI, you need a paycheck. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody knows your story. Nobody is going to care. And the people who are going to judge you are never going to be the people that hire you or support you. So they can screw themselves. Yeah, right?
Do that, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off. Exactly. So yeah, I absolutely think if you're out of money, you're feeling like you love your business, you want to keep your business, something is just not working right now, do what you need to do to earn the income that you need and just keep going. Hire that support to stay in it because you owe yourself the life that you want and be able to do work that's fulfilling.
That's so beautiful. Oh gosh, so much wisdom in there. I just want to circle around because I love hearing about travel and what travel does for people. And I want to hear some of what have you taken away? Like, what has travel done for you? Because obviously, we've talked about the business side of things, which has, given you the ability to be able to travel. And you mentioned you've been to all of these different countries and having a great time. What's that opened up for you?
I mean, it has opened up so many things personally, professionally. Like I've met clients while I'm abroad and traveling. I've made friends and friendships. But what really has done for me is shown me time and time again that wherever I go in the world, that people are all experiencing the same types of problems. Like they might be on a different scale, but humans are humans. The people that I met in Bali are, having arguments with their spouse and trying to figure out what they're going to do with their kids. And, the dog's got fleas. Like everybody's got the same sort of life issues on different scales. And it just really brings a humanity to business that I just didn't experience sitting in my home office, getting out and actually talking with people, meeting with people and feeling inspired with content, like changing your environment, seeing something new, having different foods, experiencing life differently opens up a whole new level of creativity that you just don't get sitting in a home office or never leaving where you're at. And I know for some people, it's just not possible. I get it. But go into a new city where you live, get out of your house, go work in a park, go work in a Starbucks that you've never been to before. Talk to people. There are ways that you can kind of expand your boundaries. But if you have the chance to travel, and if you can, I promise you, it will open up a whole new world of inspiration and opportunity too. Like, I've met so many incredible people that have changed my life personally, professionally. I've met great guys while I've been traveling. I've made incredible girlfriends while I've been traveling, and it has just fulfilled my life in so many different ways that I couldn't have even possibly imagined. I couldn't have even articulated a few years ago how impactful this would be for my life and business. So yeah, I can't say enough amazing things. If you get the opportunity to travel, just go do it and talk to people, have conversations with strangers. You'll be amazed at what you learn about yourself and the people around you, and it will inspire things in your business that you couldn't have even imagined.
Oh God, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for all of the incredible wisdom that you've shared and the energy that you have. Steph, before we wrap up, I've got one last question for you. And to
Okay.
you, what is the meaning of life?
Oh, wow, that's a big one. I think the meaning of life is value alignment with yourself that also impacts others. I think,
Mm.
having impact on other people and the world in general with either how you live or what you do or how you even contribute money, like, it's really about bringing us all together as humans and touching each other's lives while also doing it in a way that feels value aligned to yourself. So you're being true to you while having impact on others. I think that's the meaning of life.
I love that. I love that so much. And it's so funny. That's most people's response, like, oh my God, that's such a huge question. I love it. Now, look, we will link to everything, obviously, in the show notes as well. How do people work with you? Do you offer programs? Do you offer one-on-one coaching? What does that look like?
I'm going to give you a free resource. It'll be in the show notes for a case study. I want everyone to read this regardless of where you're at in business. It's a 2-year case study for how I grew my business alongside my 9 to 5. And it talks about my successes and failures. And it gives a real look, this is Jen. This is honestly why I was so excited to be on your podcast, because it is so raw and real. None of the pretense, none of the fluff. And that's exactly what I give in here, because I think we need to keep it real with each other. So I would love for you guys to download that and check that out as a starting base for getting some just free guidance and support on how to take those next steps and to set realistic expectations for yourself. But you can find me at stephanieritz.co. That is Instagram, Facebook, and that's also my website where you'll see my programs. I work exclusively one-on-one with clients. That deep one-on-one work is what I most love and enjoy to create major money moves in your business and your life. So I offer one-on-one in a 2-hour intensive, in a 6-month business coaching program, or in my Plane Ride to Profits intensive, where you can travel with me and have one-on-one coaching time that will get you out of your house into a luxurious experience where you have no distractions, no kids, no job, no spouse, nothing but concentrated time to focus on your business and make some big ass money moves. Come join me. I am super excited to offer this. It's one of my favorite ways to work with clients. If you're able to get out, spend a couple of days traveling and working with me. I open the doors to that twice a year. And so those are the different ways that we can work together. And you can certainly schedule a call so we can make sure that you're in the program that's most aligned for your goals.
I love that so much. And like I said, we'll link to everything in the show notes for that. Steph, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for this amazing chat on the Enlightened podcast today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me, Jen. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.